Former South African international Cornal Hendricks had passed away. He was just 37 years old. The cause of death was confirmed as a heart attack. For those who knew him personally or admired him from afar, this loss feels like a cruel, almost surreal ending to a story that had already faced more than its fair share of battles and victories. Cornal Hendricks was not just a rugby player. He was a symbol of endurance, an embodiment of what it means to rise after being told to sit down, and a living, breathing reminder that sometimes the story isn't over just because the world thinks it is. When news broke that he had died, it sent a ripple through the global rugby community, particularly in South Africa, a nation where rugby is more than a sport. It's part of the cultural DNA, a source of national pride, and a stage on which many of the country's most cherished heroes have earned their stripes. Cornal Hendricks was one of them. He may not have had the most caps or the longest streak of international glory, but what he represented was far greater than the sum of his stats. Born in a humble part of South Africa, Cornal grew up with the same dreams many young boys in rugby-loving communities do: to wear the green and gold, to step onto the field with the Springbok emblem on his chest, and to feel the roar of the crowd vibrate through his bones. What set him apart, even in his early years, wasn't just his physical speed or agility. It was the heart with which he played, the intensity of his commitment, and the sincerity with which he approached every challenge. His journey through rugby began with sevens, a faster, more fluid version of the game that demands relentless stamina and a sharp mind. Between 2011 and 2014, Cornal represented South Africa on the International Sevens circuit, where he quickly made a name for himself. His performance in the 2013 Rugby World Cup Sevens earned him praise, but it was the 2014 Commonwealth Games that marked a golden chapter in his career. Literally. He played a pivotal role in helping South Africa clinch gold, a moment that remains etched in the memories of fans and teammates alike. That victory was more than a medal. It was a declaration that Cornal Hendricks had arrived. That same year, he transitioned to the traditional 15-a-side format and made his Test debut for the Springboks against Wales. Wearing the coveted jersey that so many aspire to, he showcased his skill, scoring 5 tries in just 12 appearances. Each try wasn't just a number added to his record, it was a moment of triumph, of national pride, of personal fulfillment. The country celebrated his rise, and many believed he was just getting started. But then life threw a devastating curveball. At the height of his career, Cornal was diagnosed with a serious heart condition. The news was not only shocking, it was paralyzing. Just like that, the sport he loved was taken away from him. In 2015, at only 28 years old, he was forced into early retirement. Many around him, including fans and analysts, struggled to come to terms with the decision. After all, here was a man in peak physical condition, seemingly unstoppable on the field, being told that his own heart, the very organ that had fueled his every run, every dive, every tackle, posed a threat to his life. For most athletes, such news would have spelled the end of the road. And indeed, for a time, it seemed like it had. The world moved on, new players emerged, and Cornal faded from the spotlight. But what the world didn't see was the battle he fought behind closed doors, not just with his body, but with his spirit. There is a kind of grief that comes with being told you can no longer do the thing you were born to do. Cornal lived with that grief, but he never let it define him. Instead of resigning himself to a life of what could have been, he sought out a second opinion. He spoke to specialists, underwent rigorous medical evaluations, and clung to a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end. That hope paid off. After receiving clearance, he staged one of the most inspirational comebacks in South African rugby history. In 2019, he returned to the field with the Bulls, a Pretoria-based Super Rugby side, and proved that not only was he fit to play, he was hungrier than ever. This second chapter of his career was never about reclaiming lost glory. It was about resilience, about showing that a man can be broken and still rise, that a diagnosis is not a death sentence, that courage is sometimes quieter than we expect, less about big moments and more about the quiet determination to keep going when no one is watching. Cornal's performances with the Bulls were electric. Fans rallied behind him, not just because he was scoring again, but because he represented hope. In a world too often defined by cynicism and despair, Cornal Hendricks reminded us that miracles still happen, And when they do, they're often shaped by sheer willpower and an unbreakable belief in oneself. By the end of his career, Cornell had played 233 first-class matches across all levels of rugby, a staggering achievement by any standard, even more so given the years he lost to medical uncertainty. But for those who knew him, those numbers were never the most important part of his story. What mattered more was his humility, his smile, his ability to uplift a locker room, to inspire the next generation of players, to treat every person, no matter their status, with dignity and respect. Jack White, Bulls rugby director, said it best. Many people were shocked and sad when his career was cut short in 2015. When we had the opportunity to get him back on the park, he took that with open arms and made a remarkable use of his second lease in professional rugby. We all witnessed him leave no stone unturned as he inspired his teammates and the South African community through his story of hope and courage. Rugby has lost one of the good ones. These aren't just flattering words delivered after someone's passing. They are heartfelt tributes to a man whose very presence made others better, on and off the pitch. It's rare to find athletes who maintain that kind of reputation through the years, but Cornell was one of those rare few. His sincerity was not performative. He didn't play for the cameras. He played for the love of the game, for the kid in the stands who dreamed of one day doing what he did. South African rugby president Mark Alexander also shared moving words about Cornell, saying, "Cornell was one of those players who loved the game and he worked extremely hard, but he always did." So, with a smile on his face, treating all people with respect, his energy and love of life, on and off the field, lifted his teammates and those around him. His contributions to the sport and his unwavering dedication will always be remembered. Those words speak to something deeper than athletic achievement. They speak to legacy, the kind that can't be measured in trophies or medals, the kind that lives on in the hearts of people whose lives you touched. Cornal Hendricks' story wasn't perfect. It was human. And that's what made it extraordinary. He knew loss. He knew disappointment. But he also knew how to fight back, how to smile through the pain, how to make the most of whatever time he was given. There is a cruel irony in the fact that it was his heart, the same heart that had once forced him to the sidelines, that ultimately took him from this world. It feels almost too poetic, too brutal, too unfair. And yet, there is something tragically beautiful about it as well. Because Cornal Hendricks didn't just die with a heart condition, he lived with it. He fought through it, he played in spite of it, and in doing so, he taught us all something profound about the strength of the human spirit. As tributes continue to pour in, one thing becomes clear. Cornell's impact cannot be confined to a highlights reel. It lives in the people he inspired, the teammates he motivated, the fans he gave hope to. It lives in every child who thinks, if he could do it, maybe I can too. And so, as we remember him, let us not focus solely on the day he left us, but on every day he refused to quit, on every moment he chose faith over fear, on every game he played not just with his body, but with the full force of his soul. Cornal Hendricks was a warrior, a dreamer, a fighter, a friend. And though he has gone far too soon, he leaves behind a legacy that will echo in locker rooms, stadiums, and hearts for years to come. Rest in peace, Cornell. You ran your race with grace, with power, and with love. You will never be forgotten.